Okay, we're going to get started, and the very first thing we're going to do is identify this class, and it's called Adventure. And it has the words explore new places on page 1, and it says discover new horizons on page 2. And the goals for this class is this part right here will end up on the outside of the page protector, and I'm going to show you how that works. So you'll have a place for pictures right here. You'll have a place for more pictures here, and another flap for more pictures, okay? So before we get started, while you're punching pieces out, now again, if you don't get pieces totally punched out, that's okay. We'll do it as we go along. I know most of you probably haven't done it before, but I will show you the pieces that we actually need right here in the beginning. And I'm going to show you some of the powder puff chalk inks that will work, and I'm going to do it on just a little sample here. I know that your instructions suggest Blueberry Bliss, Tiramisu, and Mocha. So here is Blueberry Bliss, just so you can see what that looks like. It's a really soft country blue, and it's perfect for this kit. So if you can see that. If you want something a little deeper, there's Deep Sea. That's a really beautiful deep blue color. And that one would work really well too, so you can see how pretty that one is. Brown. It suggests Mocha Mama, but if you don't have that, then in the new kit there is Rocky Road, and it looks like this. It's a nice deep vintagey brown. And some of the other colors in the new box, which are ice cream colors, there is Tiramisu. Looks like this. It's a deep, rich, kind of a yellowish orange color that would work really well. One of my favorites in the new box is called Butter Pecan. It looks like this. I like this one too. Another one that would work well, because there's lots of yellow, this is called Chunky Monkey. That's also in the new box. Look how bright and pretty that is. That works really well. Then there's also a new green called Mint Chip. And if you look at, see some of the greens in there, that would work really well with that. Let's try it on the edge of this paper so you can kind of see what it looks like. Okay, and then one more called Pumpkin Pie. This one's a little bright, but it would work. So if you want something a little brighter that contrasts a little bit more, Pumpkin Pie is a good one too. So most of these are from the brand new box of inks for 2020. So before we get started, I'm also going to show you the pieces that we need to start with. Our background for both pages 1 and 2 look like this. Now I will tell you that every class we have that has our layouts, we have 6 pages, but we only do 1 in class. And the reason for that is there's not time for all of those, but we like to add the extra 4 pages, so it really gives you a great value for your money that you pay for your class. Okay, so we're going to work on pages 1 and 2. That's where all the bells and whistles are. This is your background for page 1 and page 2. It's the paper with the compass. You also need, and you will have in your kit, 2 pre-cut pieces. They're blue on one side, and they are big stripes on the other side. We'll be using the blue side. So if you can see this here, it says 5.5 by 11, both sheets. We need both of those. We need 2 that look like this. There's little stripes on one side, and they're yellow on the other side. 2 exactly the same size, and they're 5 by 10. These are going to be the flaps that go on the outside of your page protector. And then one more piece to that is you have 2 pieces that look like this, and let me move this paper so you can see them on the black. They are 3 inches by 8 3/4 inches, both exactly the same, and these end up being a 3rd piece to your flap that goes across the top. And the last piece is you have 2 frames that look like this. One says explore new places, the other one says discover new horizons. And so when you go to put your pictures in here, remember that the pictures can go perfectly behind here, or if you want to leave a little bit of a border, you have this pretty yellow paper that can show around the edge. So that's some of the things we need. There's a couple more things here. You have two frames that look like this. One will go, both of these go on page 1, and then you have the mats for these two frames, okay? One is a 4x6, one is a 5x6. And those are your little frames for page 1. Just a few little embellishments for page 1, and I'm going to get this paper back so you can see what they look like. There are a couple of flourishes that look like this, kind of leaves, I guess you'd call them. You have a compass, a blue compass, a blue sunshine, and then two little yellow pieces that go behind each of these. So there's a little yellow backer for that, little yellow backer for that, and that's all for page 1. So I'm going to take this all off, and I'm just going to start putting this together and showing you how this works, and I'll just slowly walk you through it. And then when we're done, I'm going to come back and walk you through it one more time, because I know you're not going to be able to keep up, but this way you can go at your own pace, and then you can take that video back and look at the page 1 and 2 again when you have more time. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do, and you're going to need to score these pieces, okay? You have a 5.5 by 11, which is blue, and you have a 5 by 10, which is stripes. And again, these are the flaps that go over the top. But in order to make that flap work really nice and perfect with a score line, if you have a scoreboard or a score pal, great. If not, then you can still score using your trimmer. And if you have never done that before, you will slide your paper in lengthwise into your trimmer until you're at a 1/2 inch. You can go in this way, or you can turn it around and go in this way. Just as long as you're in, you have the edge of the long edge of your paper in a 1/2 inch. And then you'll take a bone folder if you have one. If you don't have that, a room key or a credit card or the round end of a paper clip, that would all work. So the trick here is, though, when you go to score something on your own, make sure that you give medium pressure. If you put it harder than that, you're going to tear your paper, and that's not what we want. So just a couple of stripes with medium pressure, and then that gives you a nice, perfect groove, a nice line that you can fold it. And I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to do both of those. So again, at a 1/2 inch, and a medium pressure score line, not too hard. I'm going to go ahead and fold that one back. Okay, so you have, looks like this. And then we're going to do the same thing to the pieces that are 5 by 10. And a 1/2 inch. Score gently. Fold along that score line. Sometimes I get it too light of a score, but I'm always afraid of tearing the paper. So that looks like that. And you're going to score the other one at a 1/2 inch. Okay, just like that. Fold it back, because you want the blue side to show and the stripe side to show. But really, you can show either side. This paper is all double-sided, and if you want the yellow side to show on the skinny stripes, you can. If you want the big stripes to show on the other one, you can. Totally up to you, but we are showing the blue side on the big one, and we are showing the striped side on the smaller one. Okay, now once you get those scored, we're going to add them to our background, and the way we do that is you're going to add the blue first, and you'll add some adhesive along that 1/2 inch flap that goes above the score line. Lay it on your background paper, center it left to right, and then make sure it's even as possible. And sometimes I do this in order to make sure I can get that on there fairly even. And then see, this just folds right around to the back side of your background page, and there's your flap number 1, okay? Now, to make flap number 2, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to add adhesive to the 1/2 inch part above the score line, and this will go right over the top of your blue flap, centered left to right, and fold that around to the back side. So now you have 2 flaps. And again, when you go to slide this down in your page protector, these 2 flaps will stay on the outside for you to add more pictures. Okay? So the third thing that you're going to add is the 3 by 8 3/4. And I'm going to put a little color on that so you can actually see it. I think I'll do blue so you can see where it ends up. This blue won't really show because of the frame edge. Will cover it up, but it kind of lets you see a little bit better where this belongs. And actually, it's just centered perfectly right onto this 5 by 10 striped paper. So a little bit of adhesive right in the center, and adhere it right there. And then if you don't have your pictures right now, I would leave these off, or else just put the tiniest spot of glue in this corner and this corner and leave it at that. Then you can decide later on what kind of pictures you want to paint. You can pop it off completely, or you can just tuck your pictures up underneath. And again, if you want some of this pretty yellow background to show, this pattern yellow paper, then make your picture just a little bit smaller and tuck those up into there. So this is exactly the same on page 1 and page 2, okay? So now that you have, this is really the hard part of this one. Not hard at all, but it's just a fun way to add more pictures. So once you get that done, you're going to look for your 5 by 6 striped piece. It looks like this. It's yellow on one side, stripes on the other side, and it's 5 by 6. And you're also going to look for your 4 by 6. Again, yellow on one side, stripes on the other. And the larger one has, and I think I'm going to try this tiramisu on here. Yeah, that's pretty. Totally would use that. So anyway, choose a color, chalk up these edges of this oval frame just a little bit, just to see how it changes it. So I would do it all the way around. And actually, if you wanted to do the center, it's harder to do the center, but usually if you just take the end with the tails and just kind of run it gently around the inside of this like this. I just do a little because it's easier to add more to it. If you try to get in, I'll show you what happens. If you try to get in those cracks, sometimes it gets messy on the outside. That doesn't look too bad, but a lot of times it will get messy on the outside when you're trying to do centers of things, but that actually doesn't look too bad. So that will go here, and keep in mind, photo, dot, dot with adhesive, and leave the rest open so you can add photos later. And there also is another little frame that goes here, and you have a little leaf that goes here, and leaf that goes here, your little yellow mats. This one is for your compass. This one is for the little sunshine. And that's all there is to page 1. totally done. Okay, so now we're going to move on to page 2, and then I'm going to go back and do this one more time so that if you have worked along, I know you're not going to be able to keep up because I'm going a little fast just for that purpose, but that way you can catch a few more things as you go through, and then by the time you see it the second time, you're really not going to need really any instructions. You can pretty much just do it by the picture. So let's move this one out of the way. And bring in another background with a compass. And it totally doesn't matter which way you turn this paper. This compass is going to go whichever way you want. And most of it's going to be covered up anyway. So, again, we're going to add adhesive here along the 1/2 inch mark. And this is your 5.5 by 11 inch blue paper, just like you did on page 1. This is centered left to right and folded around to the back side of the paper. Adhesive on the back side only, and then a little bit of adhesive on the striped 5 by 10. That goes on over the blue paper. Adhesive on the back. The yellow piece. And your little blue frame. Pictures behind that frame. If you're not doing pictures just yet, dot of adhesive just so you can hold it in place. Then at the bottom you have, here's a few more pieces that you're going to need. Looks like this. You have a 5 by 12. 5 by 12, it's got yellow pattern. It might be hard to see, but this is a yellow pattern in the background. 5 inches by 12 inches. It's a pre-cut piece. And if you're not seeing it, usually you have to dig down into your pile of all the pieces that the big pieces that you have. Sometimes it's tucked in underneath for packaging purposes. It's just easier. And then you are looking for 3 pieces that look like this. They're yellow on one side and there's stripes on the other side. They're 3.5 by 4.5 inches. Okay. 5 by 12 yellow pattern. 3 pieces with stripes. And again, you can use the yellow side if you want to. They are 3.5 by 4.5. And these will go onto your background paper. Okay, my camera stopped for just a minute, so if I repeat myself, sorry. Anyway, you have your 3.5 by 4.5 pieces that go here. Or you can turn them over and do the yellow side if you want to. And don't forget to chalk up all these edges. It takes a while to do some chalking too. That's why it's nice to be able to go back and watch through this video again. But chalk edges with some of the colors we suggested and tried. So once we get to this part, we're really close to being done. You have a blue piece of paper that looks like this, and also a green one. It's a square also. I've already cut this one out, but what you're going to do, it's 3 by 3 blue and a 3 by 3 green, and you're going to make a little banner piece that looks like this. This will tuck up underneath. Okay, I want to show you how to chalk up this little crevice too. That's kind of when you have something that has a little V shape like that, I like to just gently bend it in my hand and take some color and see how easy that goes on. And then it's always nicer to put a little bit of extra on the little points. But just gently pull those edges together, and then it gives you a little bit more stability to chalk with. So anyway, this one will go up right here, and you're going to take your blue and green piece and do exactly the same thing. They're 3 by 3, and you will put your scissors, fold it gently so that the corners match. Put your scissors on the fold and cut towards the corner, and then you have a perfect banner piece. And this one will go here, and I've already cut the green one, and it will go here. And then you have a sheet of phrases and words, and that's where the rest of your little banner pieces come from. So it will end up looking like this. So now you also have, just to finish this out, you have a little tiny yellow piece with a hole in each end, a little sunshine blue piece with a hole in each end. You'll mount that on, the blue onto the yellow, and then you have some brads that come in a little packet like this with the yellow buttons, and you hook these together with brads. Glue it down here. You have also some leaves, look like this, and those are the last things that you put on. So you're done. See how easy that was? And you've done the hard part, which really wasn't that hard, but it's also a great way to add more pictures too. Now, once you get the first two done, you've used up so many of the pieces already that you could pretty much put together the rest of it by just looking at the picture. But first, before you go on to the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth pages, keep in mind that you have a cutting diagram. You'll need to cut some of the papers. But first I want to show you this. Always on our instruction sheet you have, this is the cover of your kit when you get it, and then you have instructions on the back, written instructions on the back, and it'll tell you the suggestions for the chalking, so up here in the top corner. It will also explain that you have cutting diagrams, and you'll look for that in another spot in your kit. Usually it looks like a little paper like this, okay? So you'll want to do that. It also says cut 3 12 by 12 papers according to diagrams. So that's what you see here is 1, 2, and 3, all right? Another thing it says is cut 1 12 by 12 large striped paper and the back side of it's blue into 2 6 by 12 pieces. So that's a simple one. You don't need a diagram for that. You're just going to cut it in half. But if it has stripes, keep in mind that you want to look at your picture on the front to make sure that you're cutting it so the stripes go the way that you want them to. It also has a 7 by 12 gold pattern paper. You want to have 2 pieces out of that are 5 by 6, says right here. Also, always, anytime you have ribbons, it'll tell you the cutting measurements for the ribbons. This says 2 6-inch pieces, so basically you're just going to cut that in half. And once you get that done, you have 6 pages that all are kind of matching pages, all same paper line. And anyway, that completes everything. So I'm just going to recap just a little bit about what we've already done. I'm going to go through it one more time and just briefly so that if there's something you can catch on the second time around, that would make it easier. Then, so first of all, we used our blue piece, which was, I believe, 5.5 by 11. We scored it at 1/2 inch so that we folded that little score line around to the back side and glued it to the back. We also made another flap by scoring 1/2 inch on the striped 5 by 10 piece. We have a yellow pattern piece that goes on next, and again, that's not going to show up if you fill up those little squares with pictures, but if you wanted to cut the picture smaller, then you could do that. So that makes your flaps that when you slide this down into your page protector, these flaps will flop down over the front, and you're able to add pictures and use them from the outside of your page protector. You also have your larger striped piece, striped mat, and your larger oval frame, smaller striped mat, smaller oval frame. You have little pieces of yellow that go behind the compass and behind the sun, and 2 little leaves. And that's all there is to page 1. And page 2 is very similar because you're going to do exactly the same thing. Your blue piece goes on first after you've scored 1/2 inch. Your striped piece goes on next after you score 1/2 inch, your yellow pattern paper, and then your little blue frame. Then you're going to add your 5 by 12 yellow pattern piece. This piece is looks like this. It's a 5 by 12 yellow pattern, and it's pre-cut in your kit. So if you're looking for it, it's tucked down in there somewhere. 5 by 12, and that will go on here, making sure that you have a little bit of space between the bottom of the flap and the top of your yellow paper. And then you have three pieces that are 3.5 by 5.5, and they are yellow on the other side, so you could use the yellow side if you chose to. And then we cut our own little banner pieces. So remember, we had a square, two squares, one was green, one was blue. We gently pulled those points, those corners together, make sure they're right together, and then we used our scissors, put them on the fold, cut towards the corner. And then that's where you get your green banner piece, your blue banner piece, and then your yellow one is already pre-cut. And you have your piece that has the little phrases in it. The three that we'll use on page 1 are adventure awaits, new places, enjoy the journey. And the other two are for pages 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that takes care of for pages 1 and 2. And again, you're going to be able to put 3 and 4, 5, and 6 together. Just make sure that you use the cutting diagram. And any other measurements that you might need to know are always in the top left-hand corner of the page. And it specifically says page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But you should be able to put the rest of this together by just looking at the pictures that you see on the front here, or you have another sheet with good pictures here and good pictures here. So I hope you had fun with this, and once you get all done, you're going to have 6 fun pages, and these are gorgeous summer colors, nice for your summer travels that we're not doing. But save them for next year. We're going to travel next year. So thank you, and we hope to see you next time, and have a great day.